I can still hear the sound of the trash bag hitting the floor the night my mom kicked me out. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming. No slammed doors. Just the dull, plasticky thud of a black trash bag landing at my feet. Like that sound alone was supposed to explain everything. Lose. My life, reduced to something you throw away after dinner. She stood in the doorway of her bedroom, arms crossed, already half turned back inside like she was done with the conversation before it even started. The hallway light buzzed faintly above us. I remember noticing stupid details. How the carpet needed vacuuming, how the air smelled like her lavender detergent, because my brain was desperately trying to avoid what was actually happening. She shoved my backpack into my hands. It was heavier than I expected, like it knew this wasn't just a walk down the street. "You are 18 now," she said flatly. Not angry. Worse. Neutral. "No money. No job. That is on you. So get out." That was it. No explanation. No warning. No "I'm sorry." Just a sentence delivered like a bill that was overdue. For half a second I thought this had to be some kind of test. Like if I cried enough, begged enough, promised enough, she'd stop. I imagined myself dropping to my knees in that hallway, grabbing her arm, saying all the things daughters say when they're terrified of being abandoned. "Please. I'll do better. I'll find a job tomorrow. Just don't make me leave like this." I felt it rise in my chest, the panic, the heat behind my eyes. I could already hear my voice cracking in my head. Then I thought about the neighbors. About how sound travels in that hallway. About Mrs. Carter next door, who always pretended not to stare but never missed anything. About being that girl, the one crying, being dragged out, humiliated in public. And something inside me hardened. I swallowed. Picked up the trash bag. I adjusted the strap of my backpack so my hands wouldn't shake. I didn't beg, I didn't yell, I didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me break right there. "Okay," I said, because it was the only word I trusted myself not to choke on. She didn't respond. The bedroom door closed before I even reached the front door, like she was afraid I might change my mind and come back. Or worse, like she didn't care if I did. The front door clicked shut behind me, loud in the quiet of the night. And just like that I was outside. No coat. No plan. Just a trash bag, a backpack, and the sound of my own breathing too fast in my ears. The street light flickered as I walked, every step feeling unreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's life by mistake. I kept waiting for her to open the door, to call my name, to say this had gone too far. She didn't. I ended up at the bus stop 2 blocks away. Sat down hard on the cold metal bench. That's when my hands started shaking for real. I checked my pockets. $20. Exactly. Enough for what? Few rides. One bad meal. Pulled out my phone. The screen dimmed immediately. Low battery. Of course that I stared at it, my thumb hovering. Her name was right there. One tap away. I could still fix this. Could still go back. I could still apologize for things I didn't even understand. Instead, I let the phone fall into my lap. The night felt enormous. Like the world had suddenly gotten much bigger and I'd gotten very, very small. I didn't know how I was going to survive. I didn't know where I was sleeping. I didn't even know what tomorrow looked like. All I knew was this. 3 years later, that same phone wouldn't stop buzzing. And none of the calls would be from her. The first night didn't feel real. It felt like waiting for something that was supposed to end but never did. I stayed on that bus stop bench until the sky started to lighten, my body stiff, my trash bag tucked between my feet like someone might steal it. Every time a car slowed down, my heart jumped into my throat. Headlights swept over me, then passed. Over and over. I learned quickly how loud the night is when you're trying not to be seen. I didn't sleep. Not really. I counted cracks in the sidewalk. I planned imaginary conversations with my mom that would never happen. When morning finally came, I walked into a convenience store bathroom and locked the door. I washed my face with cold water, smoothed my hair with wet hands, practiced looking normal in the mirror. I bought a breakfast sandwich. $5. 1/4 of my money gone before 8 a.m. No plan. Just walking. By mid-morning, the Arizona heat had fully woken up. It pressed down on me like it had something personal against me. I dragged the trash bag behind me, stopping at every strip mall I could find. Grocery store. Dollar store. Fast food place. nail salon. Anywhere with a now hiring sign that might have been real. The answers started blending together. Apply online. Not right now. Leave a resume on the website. I didn't even have a printer, or Wi-Fi, or a place to sit down. People looked past me like I was already part of the sidewalk. Like I'd always been there and always would be. By early afternoon, my shoulders burned from the weight of the bag. My feet throbbed. Sweat soaked through my shirt. I could feel the edges of panic creeping in. Quiet but persistent, I wasn't just tired. I was disappearing. That's when I saw the sign taped to a chain-link fence behind a church. Free meals. To date, I almost walked past it. Pride is stubborn like that. But my stomach made the decision for me. The church basement smelled like coffee and disinfectant. Folding tables. Paper plates. And behind one of them stood a woman with tired, kind eyes. She didn't rush. Didn't stare. Just smiled like she'd been expecting me. Her name was Rachel. She handed me a plate and said, "Eat first. We can talk after." No interrogation. No pity voice. When I finished, she asked casually like she was asking about the weather. "So, where are you sleeping tonight?" I suddenly became very interested in my phone. Pretended to check it. Pretended I hadn't heard. Rachel waited. I mumbled something about figuring it out. She nodded like that answer made sense and said, "Okay. When you're ready, I can help." That was the moment I broke. Not crying, not dramatically, but just enough to tell the truth. Within an hour, we were filling out forms. Youth shelter intake. Emergency placement. She explained everything without making it feel like charity. The shelter wasn't pretty. It was worn down. But it was safe. A door locked behind me. And for the first time in days, I lay down on a mattress that was actually meant for sleeping. Over the next week, Rachel became my anchor. She showed me how to apply for financial aid, how to enroll in community college, how to think in steps instead of spirals. When I told her I was good with my phone, she smiled and said, "Great. There's a digital marketing program. You're already on your phone all day. Might as well get paid for it." I got my first job at a tiny independent coffee shop. Early mornings. Minimum wage. Feet aching by noon. But every pay stub felt like proof. Physical evidence that my mom was wrong about me. Tonight, I delivered food on a bike. I counted every dollar. Shared a room. Cheap. Slept hard that I was exhausted. I was scared. But for the first time since that trash bag hit the floor, I was moving forward. Not fast. Not easy. Just enough to survive. Hunger does something strange to your brain. After a while, it stops feeling like an emergency and starts feeling like a puzzle you have to solve. I started playing a game with myself at the grocery store. I'd stand in the clearance aisle, calculator open, and ask one question. How many meals can I get from $10? Not snacks. Not one good dinner. Actual meals. Canned beans with boxed macaroni. Frozen vegetables dumped into instant rice. Eggs stretched across days. Sometimes it was bad. Sometimes it surprised me. Some combinations actually tasted good. Like I'd accidentally cracked a code no one bothered to teach you when you're broke and pretending you're fine. I'd go home with my cheap bags, line everything up on the counter, and feel something close to pride. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind that says, "I didn't starve today." I figured it out. That's when the idea hit me. Not a business plan. Not a strategy. Just a dared. I propped my cracked phone against an empty cereal box on my counter. The lighting was terrible. My hands shook. I hit record anyway and talked through 3 dinners I'd made entirely from the clearance section. No music. No edits. Just me explaining how to make it work when it feels like nothing does. I named the account Emergency Eats. Half joke, half diary. The video got 20 views. I watched every single one like it mattered. And then the comments started trickling in. "Thanks. I needed this. I'm broke too. This helps." It wasn't viral. It wasn't impressive. But that tiny flicker of connection warmed a part of me I thought was already dead. Tonight, I'd scroll through the comments while lying on my mattress, the room dark and quiet. And the contrast hit me harder than the hunger ever did. While my mom pretended I didn't exist, Complete strangers were telling me my ideas made their day a little easier. I thought about calling her. More than once. Her name still lived in my phone like a bruise you keep pressing to see if it hurts less. But I didn't. Her words echoed instead. If you want to survive alone, do I tell you I did. I worked. I studied. I cooked. Filmed. Built. Slowly, quietly, I started putting together the first pieces of a life that would one day collide with hers. Months passed. I posted consistently. Before dawn, after coffee shop shifts, in borrowed apartments when my room was too crowded. I rigged lighting out of desk lamps and aluminum foil. Balanced my phone on cereal boxes and cookbooks. Learned free editing apps at 2 a.m. with my eyes burning. I added captions because I realized half my viewers were watching silently. Night shift workers, parents hiding in bathrooms, people who didn't want anyone to know how tight things were. .1 series changed everything. $5 3 meals. I walked grocery store aisles on camera. Showed prices. Showed the receipt. No secrets. Transparency built trust faster than anything else. People didn't just watch, they followed, saved, shared. Then one night I posted a rotisserie chicken breakdown. 1 chicken. 5 meals. Exact cost. Exact portions that I woke up to thousands of notifications. For the first time I wasn't just surviving, I was becoming someone. For months Monica lived in my head like a ghost. Not a memory. More like a voice. You are useless. You will never make it without me. She showed up at 4:30 a.m., right when my alarm went off for the coffee shift. In the quiet before sunrise, when exhaustion makes everything louder. Her words felt heavier than the backpack I used to carry. I didn't look her up. I didn't search. I told myself I was focused on survival, on school, on work. The truth was simpler. I wasn't ready to see her life without me. Stability came first. A paycheck that didn't disappear immediately. Routine. A sense that I could handle the truth if it hurt. Then one slow afternoon at the shelter, everything changed. I was scrolling Facebook out of boredom, half paying attention, when an old tag notification popped up from years ago. I tapped it without thinking. The app refreshed. And there she was. Monica Carter. Smiling. Bullish. Like she had never slammed a door in her life. She stood in a perfect family photo in front of a big stucco house in a nice Phoenix suburb. A shiny SUV in the driveway. On one side of her was a man in a crisp button-down, arm resting easily around her waist. On the other, a teenage girl in a sparkly dress, chin tilted with the confidence of someone who had always been chosen. The caption read, "Dinner with the Harpers. Love this little family." My stomach dropped. The man was Elliot Harper. I clicked his profile. Owner of Harper Auto in detail. A high-end auto shop chain with locations all over the valley. His timeline was full of custom cars, charity events, fundraisers. Photos of Monica in expensive dresses, laughing at tables I'd never sat at, holding wine glasses that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. This wasn't a rebound relationship. This was a life. Then I clicked on the girl, Kayla Harper. 17. Winged eyeliner. Designer sneakers. Haul videos filmed in luxury mall bathrooms. Smiling in mirrors I'd only seen online. Monica's comments were everywhere. Under one photo Monica wrote, "So proud of my girl. She turned my life around after a really hard season." I scrolled. And scrolled. There was no trace of me, no old photos. No missing you. No vague references. Nothing. It was like I'd never existed. Like she had deleted me and replaced me with an upgraded model. Newer, shinier, easier to love. That hurt in a way I wasn't prepared for. But the worst part came next. Buried in the comments under a group photo, I recognized a name. An old neighbor from my childhood. She wrote, "How is Alexis doing? I haven't seen her in forever." Monica replied, "Oh, she left home to travel and figure herself out. She doesn't really keep in touch." I stared at the screen. That was the lie, that I hadn't been kicked out. I hadn't been abandoned. I had wandered off. A free spirit. An ungrateful daughter who chose not to call. Monica wasn't cruel, she was patient. A good mother whose child drifted away. That lie stung almost more than that night itself. Then something clicked. the envelope. I hadn't thought about it in years. The college savings I'd hidden in the back of my closet during high school. Cash I'd earned working extra shifts at the grocery store, the diner, weekends I could have spent with friends. I'd sacrificed to build that little stack of security. I never grabbed it the night I was kicked out. My hands shook as I logged into my old bank account. The balance was zeroed, not gradually drained. One withdrawal. Done in person at a nearby branch. Same day Monica said, "You are 18 now." I'm done. I remembered her asking for my debit card a few days before. Why are you being weird about it? Don't you trust your own mother? I had trusted her enough to hand it over. The realization settled slowly, heavily. She used my savings to fund her new life with the Harpers. She told the world I left by choice. And she slept just fine. Why ramen noodles and clearance vegetables suddenly tasted different in my memory, like they'd been seasoned with someone else's stolen cash. Every photo of dinners, vacations, new clothes took on a sharper edge. This wasn't just a sad story about being kicked out. It was the beginning of something else. I thought discovering the truth would make me feel powerful. Instead, it made me feel hollowed. I went through my days like a robot. Wake up, work, smile, repeat. My body showed up even when my mind didn't. Every time the espresso machine hissed, Monica's words replayed in my head. So proud of my girl. Over and over, like a song I couldn't turn off. That I smiled at customers until my cheeks hurt. I laughed at the right moments. Then I went home and didn't film. A few days turned into a week. A week into a month, I stopped opening the Emergency Eats app because it felt like a reminder of a version of me who actually believed people wanted to hear what she had to say. At night, I doom-scrolled Kayla's perfect life until my head ached. New shoes, new dinners, new smiles. I hated her for existing. Then I hated myself for feeling that way. It felt like I had lost a game I didn't even know we were playing. The warning came on a Tuesday. I showed up late to the coffee shop, eyes puffy from crying until 3 a.m., heart racing before I even clocked in. My manager pulled me aside near the sink. "Lexi, this is the third time this month you've been late," she said gently. "I like you. But I can't keep you if this continues." Her words snapped me straight back to that bus stop bench. Cold metal. Trash bag at my feet. One mistake away from having nowhere to sleep. I nodded. Apologized. Somehow made it through the shift without breaking down in front of anyone. After work, I didn't go home. I went to Rachel's office. It was the same cramped room. Stacks of files, a crooked motivational poster peeling at the corners. Rachel took one look at my face and said, "Close the door. Sit down. Tell me what happened." And I did. I showed her the photos. Comments. The lie. The bank withdrawal. The rewritten version of my life where I was the problem. My voice cracked. My eyes burned. There was nothing pretty about it. Rachel didn't soften it. She didn't make excuses for Monica. She leaned forward and said, "Sometimes the most dangerous thing for us is the story people tell about us when we are not in the room." I nodded because that story had been suffocating me. "You can't control that," she continued. "But you can control the story you tell about yourself." That sentence stayed with me. A few days later, I was studying in the library when Jordan from my class sat down across from me. "Hey," he said. "Why did you bail on those cooking videos? They were actually good." Shrugged. "It's stupid. No one cares about some broke girl making meals out of canned beans." He frowned and pulled out his phone. "I care. And apparently the 20,000 people who watched your last video care too." My heart stuttered. I checked my account. One simple clip, filmed before everything fell apart, was sitting at almost 50,000 views. Comments flooded the screen. I worked 2 jobs and this made me feel less alone. "Thank you for not judging. I needed this today." For the first time in weeks I felt seen. And I realized I wasn't done yet. 3 years later, my life barely resembled the one that started on a bus stop bench. I was 21, one semester away from my associate's degree in digital marketing. Emergency Eats had grown from a shaky joke account into a real brand, but not in some overnight fairy tale way. It happened the only way real change ever does. Thousands of tiny choices stacked on top of each other. I filmed before dawn, after closing shifts, in borrowed apartments when my place was too loud. I upgraded slowly. Desk lamps wrapped in aluminum foil, My phone balanced on cereal boxes, then cookbooks, then an actual tripod I bought secondhand. I learned free editing apps, cut dead air, added captions so people could watch silently. I paid attention to what helped and dropped what didn't. The winning formula stayed simple. $5, 3 meals. Receipts on camera. Grocery store aisles. No tricks. Then came the rotisserie chicken week prep video. I woke up to my phone frozen from notifications. Followers jumping in real time. Messages from people saying they'd saved money for the first time in months. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just content, it was useful. Money followed slowly at first. Brands started sending free products. Then gift cards. The first real sponsorship came from a local discount grocery chain. I almost cried in the back room of the coffee shop when I read the email. Excitement rushed in, followed immediately by a familiar sting. My mom wasn't there to see it. Then the truth landed, calm and solid. She had chosen not to be there between sponsorships and delivery shifts. I saved enough to leave the youth house. I moved into a tiny studio in a part of Phoenix that was not great, but not terrifying. A wobbly second-hand table. A mattress on the floor. Cabinets that didn't close unless you lifted them just right. But it was mine and no one could yank the key out of my hand. Emergency eats reached people all over the country. Single parents, college students, elderly folks on fixed incomes. I recognized their comments because I was them. When I organized a small fundraiser to buy grocery gift cards for teens at the same shelter that saved me, it felt full circle in a way I couldn't explain. For the first time in my life, what I knew had value. Still, success doesn't erase everything. Some nights after filming, the apartment felt too quiet. My thumb drifted to the search bar before I could stop it. Monica. The Harpers. The perfect family. Matching outfits at charity galas. Vacations to Sedona. Kayla always in the background. Designer bags, perfect nails, effortless smiles. Stung less now. But the dull ache never fully disappeared. Then the cracks started to show. It was a comment under one of Kayla's haul videos. Gone quickly, but not before I saw it. Funny you still haven't paid me back for that tablet you bought with my card. More comments appeared on other posts before disappearing. Mentions of chargebacks. Orders that never arrived. Credit card disputes. In local Phoenix community groups, people shared stories about a teenage girl buying things under other people's names, denying it when banks called and no one used her full name. But the details lined up too cleanly to ignore. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't play detective. I took screenshots before comments vanished. Saved links. Noted dates. I wasn't hunting for revenge, I was paying attention. And for the first time I could see the pattern clearly. The file sat on my laptop for weeks. My mom kicked me out at 18 with no money and no job. Every time I opened my editing software, the title stared back at me. I told myself I was too busy. Recipes to film, brand emails to answer, deadlines to hit. But the truth was simpler and heavier. Once I said it out loud, there was no taking it back. The night I finally recorded, the studio was quiet in that specific way that makes your thoughts louder. One ring light glowed in the corner. Desert heat clung to the walls. My upstairs neighbor's TV hummed through the ceiling. It felt like the kind of night when people make choices they can't undo. I set my phone on the tripod, steadying the wobbly table with my knee. No props, no cooking. Just me, a glass of water, and the truth. I took a breath and hit record. I didn't script it, but I knew the beat's my name. Wait. Phoenix. The sound of the trash bag hitting the floor. My mom standing in the doorway. Her exact words about being 18, broke, jobless. The bus stop. $20. Washing my face in a convenience store bathroom so I wouldn't look homeless. Rachel. A shelter. Puffy shifts. Delivery runs. Emergency eats starting as a joke because hunger forces creativity. Then I told the rest. Looking my mom up online. Finding a new life with a richer man and a stepdaughter. Seeing myself rewritten as the kid who decided to leave and not look back. Checking my bank account. Watching my college savings disappear days before my birthday. Money that was never mentioned again. That I was careful. No last names. No cities. I blurred screenshots. Changed small details that didn't matter. This wasn't about doxing anyone. It was about the pattern. Parents who rewrite the story instead of owning what they've done. Toward the end, I leaned closer to the camera. Listen, I said, voice steady but thin. If any of this sounds familiar to you, don't go digging. Don't try to guess who my mom is. Don't send hate to anyone you think might be involved. I swallowed. This is about people who've been told they're disposable, realizing they're not. If you want to do something, tell your own story instead of attacking mine. I stopped recording and just sat there for a minute. Editing took hours. I cut it down to 12 minutes. Added subtitles for silent viewers. The title stayed exactly the same. My mom kicked me out at 18 with no money and no job. Here's what happened next. My finger hovered over the post button for a long time. Then I pressed it, locked my phone, and forced myself to wash dishes so I wouldn't watch the numbers climb. The evening passed strangely normal. I answered emails. Prepped ingredients. Tried to act like I hadn't just dropped a grenade into my own life. After midnight, my phone started buzzing so hard it almost slid off the counter. Notifications blurred together. Comments came in faster than I could read. People weren't attacking, they were opening up. Parents apologizing to kids they'd failed. Kids writing, "This happened to me too." Thousands of stories pouring out exactly the way I'd asked. Relief washed over me. For the first time, the story wasn't being told about Mead. It was being told by Mead. I never said her name. I never told anyone where to look. But the internet doesn't need instructions. It just needs patterns. In the comments, people started asking careful questions. Not accusatory. Curious. Wait. Did you grow up near this part of Phoenix? I think I recognize the hotel chain you mentioned. Then I saw one comment that stopped my breath. If this is who I think it is, your mom has been telling everyone for years that you ran away and refused to talk to her. I used to work with her. We all thought you were some wild child who abandoned her. This is you. I'm sorry for believing that. I didn't reply. I didn't like it. My hands just shook over the screen. I had never asked anyone to go to her page. Never shared a name. But Phoenix isn't as big as it looks, especially when people start comparing notes in conversations I wasn't part of. Former co-workers, old neighbors, friends of friends recognizing stories from photos, timelines lining up. The lie she'd lived on for years was being quietly re-examined. Then Kayla's name started surfacing for real, not gossip. Patterns. A woman commented about a teen matching Kayla's description who'd used her card info to buy electronics. I trusted her to help with an online purchase. Someone else mentioned repeated chargebacks tied to the same last name. Another hinted that the disputes were connected to a well-known auto business in the area. No one said the full name. They didn't need to. I didn't pin the comments. I didn't react. I didn't have to. They took on a life of their own. Few days later, an email landed in my business inbox. The name alone made my chest clench. Elliot Harper. He introduced himself politely. Said someone had sent him my video. Said parts of it felt disturbingly familiar. Then he asked one question. Was your mother's first name Monica? I stared at that sentence for a long time. I could ignore it. Pretend I never saw it. I could lie. Instead, I typed one word. Yes, I hit send and closed my laptop before I could overthink it. I don't know what happened in that house after. I wasn't there for confrontations or bank statements or credit card disputes spreading across a dining room table. All I know is that about a week later my phone started buzzing differently. The first message came while I was filming, "I'm sorry." Then another, "Please answer." Then, "I need to explain." And then the one that made my stomach drop, "They're saying horrible things about me. About us. Please help me fix this." The messages kept coming. Elliot had thrown her out after learning the truth. Kayla was under investigation for credit card fraud. Police were asking questions about what Monica knew and when. Her job at the hotel, her name whispered in connection with the investigation, was suddenly uncertain. She was scared. She was alone. And now I was the only one who could save her reputation. "I shouldn't have kicked you out," she wrote. "I was stressed and stupid. Please. I'm begging you. Just talk to me." The last message came hours later. "Please save me." Old instincts flared up, the ones trained into me since childhood. Fix it. Smooth it over. Be reasonable. Be the one who makes things okay. I pictured her sitting in some half-empty apartment, phone in hand, staring at the door the way I had at 18, and for the first time, I understood exactly what she was asking me to give up. I could have picked up the phone, I could have answered her and rewritten the ending, made it softer for her. I could have explained things in a way that protected her, the way I always had. Smoothed the edges. Fixed the mess. Instead, I thought about the bus stop. About the nights in the youth shelter when I fell asleep listening to strangers breathe. About the comments under my video from people who never got closure, who never got an apology, who just learned how to live with the ache. I thought about how she had told an entire world that I walked away, when she was the one who shut the door. The last message stared back at me. Please save me, and suddenly it was clear, she still didn't see me as a person. I was a tool. Strategy. A shield she could hide behind when the story stopped working. My phone buzzed again in my hand. I opened the thread one last time and scrolled from the top. From the first "I'm sorry" to the last "please, I need you." Then I went to settings. I turned off notifications from her number. I placed the phone face down on the table. The sound cut off mid-buzz. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy, solid, like finally closing a door from my side for once. For the first time in my life, my mom needed something from me, and I chose to say nothing. And somehow, that quiet felt louder than every scream I swallowed the night she kicked me out. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about protecting the life I had fought for. Maybe one day I'd be ready to hear her voice. Maybe I wouldn't. Either outcome was okay. The apology I needed most didn't come from her. It came from myself. The moment I stopped believing I was the problem just because that version of the story was easier for her to live with. Family, I learned, isn't just blood or a last name. Sometimes it's the social worker who doesn't look away. The friend who notices when you stop posting. The strangers online who remind you that you're not alone. She once said, if you want to survive alone, go do it. She meant it as a punishment. In the end, it became my superpower. The weeks after the video were strange. The noise shifted. From chaos to something quieter, heavier, more permanent. Emergency eats kept climbing. Comments settled into the rhythm I'd hoped for. Recipes being tried, stories being shared, people connecting. There was no follow-up exposé. No additional receipts dropped. I didn't need to. Phoenix moved on the way cities do. But ripples always remained. I heard the consequences in fragments. A coffee shop regular mentioned the hotel manager was let go after her name floated in connection with the fraud investigation. A community college connection whispered, "Fancy couple with car shops." He broke off the engagement and kicked them out after finding out they lied. I pretended surprise, kept my face neutral, heart pounding. There was no celebration, no evil laugh, no dancing on graves. It felt more like standing in the middle of an earthquake that had finally stopped, realizing the building you live in is still standing. Kayla wasn't in prison, but the investigation was real. Probation, a record affecting future job applications. Mandatory classes on financial responsibility and online safety. Monica avoided jail too, but the fallout hit hard. Elliot broke up with her. The hotel didn't want anyone connected to police reports. Without his money or job, she ended up in a smaller apartment, back in the part of town that looked a lot more like the one we used to live in. Friends who had believed her daughter ran away, story went quiet. I saw the effects in glimpses. Links, screenshots, murmurs from people who didn't know I was at the center. Mostly I felt tired. Not regretful. Not exactly satisfied either. Just done. While their world tilted, mine kept moving forward. Emergency eats grew. Finished my degree. The content evolved beyond $10 stretching tips. Teaching emergency savings, understanding rights if kicked out or cut off, finding local shelters and food banks without shame. Partnerships with Rachel's shelter led to small grant funds, buying grocery gift cards and kitchen starter kits for teens aging out of foster care. Live Zoom classes taught them to cook with whatever they could afford. Those days, I often thought of 18-year-old me on that bus stop, wishing I could tell her, "One day you will feed people exactly where you are sitting right now." Rachel checked in like some unofficial aunt. Jordan reminded me he had been the first to see value in my videos. I still thought about my mother sometimes. Not the Instagram version, but the real woman who chain smoked and snapped when rent was due. I pictured her in her smaller apartment, seeing my face on the For You page, realizing that ignoring me did not erase me. I haven't blocked her number. I just don't answer. It's not about punishing her anymore. It's about protecting the life I fought for. People love to say family is everything, but that's not always true. Family can be the social worker pushing housing forms. You deserve a safe place to sleep. Can be the friend dragging you back to your potential. It can be the strangers online saying your story helped them survive. She once told me, "If you want to survive alone, go do it." She meant it as punishment. In the end, it became my superpower. I survived without her, and learned to help others survive too. More than any scandal or job loss she faced, that is the part that feels like real revenge. Oh, if this sounds uncomfortably familiar, if you've been told you're ungrateful or dramatic for noticing someone's hurtful patterns, hear this clearly. You are not crazy for wanting better. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. And if you feel safe, tell your story. Not to destroy anyone, but to remind someone else at their metaphorical bus stop that they are not alone. They are not disposable.